Every day, millions of men walk right past something real, and they don't even know it. They miss it, not because they're careless, not because they don't want it, but because they were taught to look for the wrong thing. They think love has to be loud, obvious, full of dramatic gestures, grand declarations, and over-the-top moments. But real love doesn't always arrive like that. Sometimes it's quiet. It hides behind a nervous smile, a soft glance, or a moment of hesitation. It's wrapped in fear, the fear of being hurt again. It's guarded by pride, the kind built from scars and heartbreaks. And if you don't know how to recognize it, you'll miss it. You'll walk away from someone who is already choosing you, silently. Yes, today, I want to open your eyes. Not just so you can avoid heartbreak, but so you can finally see what's real. I want to help you recognize the signs of emotional attachment most people will never notice. This isn't guesswork. This is about understanding human behavior, emotional patterns, and the unspoken language of love. Let me ask you something. What if the greatest love of your life is already here, but too afraid to show it? What if she's been giving you signs all along, small, subtle, deeply honest signals, but because they weren't loud, you didn't see them? You see, we're conditioned to chase the obvious. But the truth is, the rarest kind of love doesn't shout. It whispers. And once you learn to hear that whisper, once you learn to read between the lines, you'll never be confused again to ask, if you've ever found yourself wondering, does she really care? Or am I missing something important? You're in the right place. Because in this video, we're diving into the emotional cues that most men overlook. And once you know how to spot them, you'll never have to guess again. This knowledge could change everything. Your relationships, your confidence, your entire perspective on love. So stay with me, because by the end, you won't just understand women better, you'll understand yourself better too. Let's talk about one of the most overlooked signs of real emotional connection: subconscious loyalty. It's not flashy. It doesn't come with a big announcement or a dramatic, "I'll always be there for you." In fact, most of the time, it's completely silent. You see, real loyalty doesn't need attention. It doesn't show up when it's convenient or when it earns praise. It shows up when life gets messy, when things fall apart, when you're stressed, lost, or feeling like you've got no one in your corner. That's when it happens that you'll notice that one person who quietly adjusts their schedule to be there for you. They cancel plans without making a big deal out of it. They check in, not because you asked, but because they just felt like something was off. Maybe they bring you dinner when you didn't say you were hungry. Maybe they sit in silence next to you when you don't feel like talking. They don't expect a thank you. They're not keeping score. For them, showing up isn't a choice, it's instinct, and that's the key. Instinct. Subconscious loyalty is not something someone plans out. It's something they feel. Their heart has already decided that your well-being matters to them, whether they say it or not. Emotionally, they've chosen you. Think about that for a second. How many people in your life rearrange themselves? Not for attention, not for obligation, but simply because you matter to them? Here's what's wild. You might not even notice it at first, because real loyalty doesn't wave flags. It creates patterns, little moments that, over time, become undeniable. When you look back, you'll realize they were always there. That's how you know it's real. It's not in what they say, it's in what they repeat, over and over, quietly, without being asked. When someone loves you like that, their loyalty isn't loud, but it's unshakable. Don't overlook the quiet ones. The ones that don't say much, but are always near when it counts. Their silence doesn't mean they don't care. It means they care so deeply, they don't need to prove it. They just live it. Have you ever felt like someone was pulling you in only to suddenly push you away? One moment, she's laughing with you. Her eyes light up when you walk into the room. Her whole energy open and present. And then, without warning, she grows distant, quiet, almost cold, like none of it ever mattered, that you're not imagining it. But here's what most men get wrong. They assume it's manipulation, that she's playing games, that she's not serious. But let me tell you something I wish more people understood. Emotional inconsistency isn't always a red flag. Sometimes it's a deep inner battle. What you're seeing is the push and pull of vulnerability versus fear. It's her heart saying, "This feels real," maybe even too real, while her mind screams, "Protect yourself. Don't get hurt again." It's not that she doesn't care. It's that she cares so much it terrifies her. Think about it. When someone doesn't feel anything, they don't waver. They stay distant, detached, indifferent. But when someone is emotionally invested, that's when you see these flashes of closeness followed by retreat. It's not manipulation, it's self-defense. And if you're not paying attention, you'll misread the entire situation. You'll walk away thinking she didn't want you, when in reality, she was asking a silent question. Can I trust you? Will you stay if I let you see the parts of me I usually hide? This kind of inconsistency is a test, not of your patience, but of your understanding. It's a cry for emotional safety, a challenge to see if you can handle the real, raw, unfiltered version of her. Oh, here's the truth. If you want something real, something that lasts, you have to learn how to navigate that fear. Not take it personally, but see it for what it is. A heart that's been bruised, trying to love again. The ones worth loving are never easy to love at first. They need reassurance, not retreat. Patience, not pressure. That if you can give her that space to feel safe, to let her guard down slowly, you won't just win her heart. You'll earn her trust. And that's a bond few ever break. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever noticed someone reacting a little too strongly to something you said or did? Something small, even innocent, and thought, whoa, what was that about? Maybe she got a little cold when you mentioned another woman. Maybe her tone changed when you didn't text back as fast as usual. Maybe she made a sarcastic comment that hit harder than it should have. And if you're like most guys, your first thought might have been, she's being dramatic. But here's the truth. Emotional reactivity isn't drama. It's proof she cares. Deeply. When someone is emotionally neutral, they stay calm. They don't flinch if you drift away. They don't react if your attention shifts. Why? Because nothing's pulling at them inside. But when someone's heart is involved, even the smallest shift feels like a storm. Here's why that matters. These emotional reactions are raw. They're real. They show up before logic has a chance to kick in. That quick flash of jealousy, that moment of irritation, that unexpected silence, they're not calculated. They're not planned. They're honest. It's her heart speaking before her mind can stop it. And yet, this is where so many men walk away. They misunderstand it. They see the mood swings, the friction, and they label it as toxic, unstable, too much. But what if it's not too much? What if it's just someone feeling too much and not knowing how to say it? Because here's the thing, it's not weakness. It's vulnerability trying to protect itself. She's reacting, not to control you, but because losing you would hurt more than she's ready to admit. Don't be quick to judge those reactions. Look closer. What if the tension you feel isn't rejection, but love that doesn't know how to breathe yet? If you want something real, you have to learn to see past the emotional waves, to understand the storm instead of running from it. Because the one who reacts is the one who feels. And sometimes that's the loudest kind of love there is. Here's something most men completely overlook when it comes to love: how she listens to you. Not just whether she hears your words, but how deeply she listens when you speak. You see, in a world full of noise, true attention is rare. Most people aren't really listening. They're waiting for their turn to talk. They're distracted, multitasking, scrolling through their phones while nodding along. That kind of surface-level attention, it's everywhere. But when someone truly cares, their entire focus shifts. Watch closely. When you talk, does she put down her phone? Does she turn her body toward you, her eyes fully on yours? Does she notice when your tone drops, when you hesitate, when your words don't match your mood? Because real love listens differently. It listens between the lines. It hears the emotion you're not saying out loud. It catches the frustration you try to mask with humor. It notices when your energy dips Even if you're trying to act strong. I remember once I was talking about something that didn't seem like a big deal, just a tough week at work. I didn't even say much, but she picked up on it. The next day, she left a note on my desk. "You're carrying too much. Let me help." That moment hit me harder than any grand gesture ever could, because she didn't just hear me. She felt me. That's the power of attentive listening. It's a form of love that doesn't need words. It's the kind of connection that makes you feel seen, not just heard. And here's the truth. Most men are trained to look for the loud signs, grand declarations, bold moves, big statements. But they miss the quiet magic of someone giving you their full presence. No distractions, no ego, just undivided attention. The next time you're speaking and someone is truly locked in, really with you in that moment, don't take it for granted. It's one of the clearest signs her heart is already invested. Because in a world where everyone's half present, someone fully listening to you is one of the purest forms of love you'll ever find. Let me share a little secret most men never realize. The way someone remembers you says more than anything they'll ever say out loud. That we often think love has to look a certain way. Big surprises, long messages, grand declarations. But the truth? The real signs of emotional connection are much quieter, more subtle. Sometimes they show up in the tiniest moments. Moments so small, most people miss them. Here's one of the clear signs. When someone remembers the little things about you. I'm not talking about your birthday or your job title. I mean the things you didn't even realize you said. The coffee you like. The way you always tie your left shoe first. That story you told once about your childhood dog and never mentioned again. When a woman remembers things like that, it's not because she rehearsed it or made a mental note. It's because emotionally, you've become a priority. Her brain didn't have to try. It just held on to it. Why? Because she cares. You see, memory isn't random. Our minds forget what doesn't move us. But when someone holds on to your tiny details, that's emotional investment. That's her heart doing the remembering. Even if she hasn't admitted it yet, I had a moment once that really drove this home. I was having a rough week, didn't say much about it. Just casually mentioned I was too tired to cook and missed this one comfort food my mom used to make. A day later, she shows up with it. No fanfare, no look what I did. Just a quiet gesture that spoke volumes. And that's the point. Most men wait for love to yell and completely miss when it whispers S.O. If you're wondering how someone feels about you, don't just look for what they say. Watch what they remember, the stories they bring up, the little facts they shouldn't still know. Because in a world full of distractions, someone who remembers the tiny things is someone who's already holding space for you in their heart, whether they've said it out loud or not. Sometimes, love doesn't show up in words or gifts or even in grand actions. Sometimes it shows up in a glance, in a moment, or in a simple desire to be near you. Let's talk about something most men overlook: proximity. The quiet, almost invisible ways someone tries to stay close. Not because they need something, but because your presence feels right. Here's the truth. Emotional attachment becomes clearest when there's space. When you're not around. When you're out of the room. That's when the heart speaks loudest. Think about it. Have you ever had someone who kept inviting you to small events that didn't really need your presence? Called or texted about things that weren't exactly urgent. Maybe they acted casual about it, like it was no big deal. But it was a big deal. Because when someone emotionally connects with you, being apart just feels off. They don't always know why. They may not even admit it to themselves. But something inside them starts looking for you, creating reasons to call, excuses to stop by, ways to pull you back into their space. And here's what's fascinating. It's rarely obvious. They may frame it as spontaneous or friendly. But when you see the pattern, how they always manage to include you, how your presence clearly settles them, it's more than coincidence. It's emotional magnetism. This isn't about neediness. It's about comfort, about safety, about that feeling of, I'm better when you're around. I once had a woman tell me she didn't know why, but she always felt calmer when I was in the room, even if we weren't talking. That's not romance in the traditional sense. That's connection. That's emotional proximity doing its silent work. Here's the key. Don't ignore the ones who casually make space for you in their world, who find reasons to keep you near, who light up, even subtly, when you come back into view. Because when someone seeks proximity, not with big words, but with small, consistent gestures, what they're really saying is life feels more right when you're close. And that's one of the strongest signs their heart has already started choosing you. Let me tell you one of the most powerful signs that someone truly cares, and it's not what you'd expect. It's not the big gestures. It's not the romantic speeches. It's something far more instinctive, something deeply human, that it's protectiveness. Not the movie-style protectiveness where someone throws a punch or makes a dramatic rescue. I'm talking about the quiet kind. The kind that shows up in subtle ways. The way she notices when you're not okay, even when you say you are. When someone is emotionally connected to you, their first instinct when you're hurting isn't to step back. It's to step closer. Maybe she asks, "Did you eat today?" when you've had a long one. Maybe she teases you with a smile, but slips in real concern underneath it. Maybe she shows up when you didn't ask, just to make sure you don't go through something alone. That's what real care looks like. That it's not loud, but it's consistent. It hides in the small stuff, like offering you her jacket without blinking, checking in after a tough day, watching your back when others aren't. These gestures might seem casual on the surface, but underneath, they're deeply emotional. Her heart is quietly saying, "Your well-being matters to me." And here's something I've learned. People who feel emotionally bonded to you don't even realize they're doing this. It's not strategic. It's instinctive. Their concern is natural because your pain has become personal. I had a moment once when I was sick and didn't tell anyone. She somehow knew. She dropped off soup, texted to make sure I rested, and said, "Don't pretend you're fine. Let someone take care of you for once." It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. Here's the key. Don't just look for who flirts with you. Look for who guards you, who worries quietly, who shows up, not just when things are good, but when life feels heavy. Because real protectiveness isn't performative, it's emotional. It's someone saying, "You're part of my world now, and I'm going to look out for you." Even if they never say those words out loud, that's love. That's connection. And that's rare. We live in a world obsessed with words. We're trained to listen for, "I love you, I miss you, you matter to me." But here's something I've learned. Real love doesn't always speak. Sometimes it simply acts. See, not everyone is comfortable expressing emotions out loud. Some people don't have the language. Others have been hurt when they've tried. So instead of saying, "I care about you," they show it. Not once, not loudly, but consistently through quiet, thoughtful actions. She checks in when your day's been hard. She brings you coffee without asking. She notices your routine, your mood, your energy, and steps in where you need help, even if you didn't say a word. These moments might feel small, almost forgettable, but they're not. Because love that's lived is far more powerful than love that's only spoken. Let me give you an example. I once had a woman who never said much emotionally, but I was sick for a few days, and without me asking, she brought groceries, tidied up my apartment, and left a handwritten note that simply said, "Rest. I got this. No, I love you." But in that moment, I felt more loved than any words could have made me feel. Why? Because her actions were steady, reliable, quietly intentional. And that's how you know it's real, because she's not trying to impress you. She's trying to support you. Here's the thing. It's easy to say all the right things. But what matters more is what someone does when no one's watching. When it's not flashy. When it's not convenient. If you're trying to figure out how someone feels about you, don't just listen with your ears. Watch with your heart. Pay attention to the patterns. Do they show up on counts? Do they make your life lighter, easier, more peaceful, even in small ways? Because when someone chooses to act quietly, consistently, with no need for attention or praise, what they're really saying is this: "You matter to me. And I'm proving it without needing to say a word. There's a moment in every connection, quiet, raw, and often unexpected, when someone lets you see the part of themselves they usually keep hidden. And when that happens, pay close attention, because that moment is everything that lets talk about vulnerability. When a woman begins to open up emotionally around you, when she starts sharing her past struggles, her fears, her doubts, it's not just small talk. It's not just conversation. It's a door opening to something deeper. Why? Because people don't become vulnerable with just anyone. Vulnerability is risky. It means letting your guard down, trusting someone enough to show the wounds instead of just the wins. And that kind of trust, it's earned, not given. I want you to think about this. Have you ever had someone tell you something they've never told anyone else? Maybe a story from their past that still carries pain, or a fear they usually hide behind humor or silence. In that moment, they're not just trusting you, they're inviting you into their real world. That I remember a time when someone close to me started opening up about why she always tried to appear strong. How growing up, no one showed up for her when she needed support. She didn't cry. She didn't ask for help. She just powered through. But that night, when she let the walls fall, when she said, "It's hard for me to let people in, but with you, I feel safe," that moment wasn't about weakness. It was the purest form of trust I'd ever seen. That's what vulnerability really is. It's not a crack, it's a connection. And if you're lucky enough to see someone in that space, don't take it lightly. Don't rush to fix or analyze. Just be present. Be steady. Be the safe place they hoped you'd be when they chose to let you in. Because when someone chooses to be vulnerable with you, what they're really saying is, "I trust you with the parts of me I don't show the world." And if you honor that moment, you build a bond most people spend their whole lives searching for. Sometimes the loudest form of love isn't spoken. It's not written in text messages or said in late-night conversations. Sometimes it's simply how she looks at you. Let's talk about eye contact and body language, the most ancient and honest language of them all. Because when someone's heart is quietly choosing you, their body often speaks before their words ever can. Have you ever caught her looking at you when she thought you weren't paying attention? That soft, lingering gaze, not intense, not dramatic, but full of warmth, curiosity, maybe even a little admiration. That's not just a glance. That's emotion silently showing itself. You see, eye contact is a window into the soul. And when someone can't help but look at you, when their gaze softens around you, it's not about lust. It's about connection. It's about their heart feeling safe in your presence, drawn in even without them realizing it. Now look at the rest of her body. Is she facing you when you talk? Leaning in just a little more when you speak? These things aren't random. They're signs, subtle, but powerful. That I remember once I was telling a story at dinner. Nothing special, just a funny memory. But I noticed she wasn't just listening. Her eyes were locked in. Her shoulders turned fully toward me. And even in a room full of people, it felt like we were the only two that existed. That's the power of body language. It reveals what words are too scared to say. Most men miss these signs because we're taught to listen to words. But love, real love, is often felt first through energy, posture, presence. The way someone shifts slightly closer. The way they mirror your movement. The way they light up, not with words, but with presence. So, if you've ever wondered where you stand with someone, stop for a moment and watch. Not what they say, but what they do when they think no one's watching. Because when someone's eyes soften at your presence, when their body leans in, even just an inch, what they're really saying is, "You feel like home to me." So here we are, 10 powerful signs, 10 ways that love speaks without ever needing to raise its voice. And yet, most men miss them. Not because they don't care, not because they're not paying attention, but because they've been trained to look for something else. The big moments, the bold words, the fireworks, but real love, real emotional investment, it rarely looks like a Hollywood scene. It's quieter, subtler, and so much more honest. IT shows up in the way she remembers your coffee order, in how she turns her body toward you when you speak, in the way she shows up without being asked, listens without interrupting, and reacts emotionally to your distance. Not because she's weak, but because she's invested. These aren't random acts. They're not accidents. They're signs of something deeper, something real. And here's the hard truth. If you don't know how to recognize these signs, you might walk away from the best thing that ever happened to you. You might misread love as confusion. You might call emotional reactivity drama. You might label vulnerability as too much. And you'll miss it. You'll miss her. But if you've made it this far, if you've listened, reflected, and started to open your eyes, then you're already different. You're already ahead of the game. Because now, you don't need to guess. You can see it in her loyalty, in her inconsistency, in her actions, in her silence. You can feel in the spaces where words don't reach, but love still lives. Don't walk away blind. Let this knowledge be your guide, your filter. Use it to protect your heart, but also to recognize when someone is handing you theirs. Because once you know how to spot real love, you won't settle for less. You'll stop chasing noise and start listening for the whisper that says, I'm here, I care, I've already chosen you. And that is where real relationships begin.